Dr. Stone just released its 5 highest rated episodes ever by fixing its biggest problem. And that problem is the one reason Dr. Stone has never competed with the most popular anime, but that all changed when Dr. Stone solved its major flaw by using the one thing it does better than any other series. That's why in this video, I'm gonna talk about Dr. Stone's lack of stakes, discuss how it changed its approach to stakes in season 4, and explain why Dr. Stone has the best character writing. But now that I've brought it up, let's talk about Dr. Stone's lack of stakes. Because if we're being honest, this is where Dr. Stone loses a lot of fans early on. Dr. Stone was one of the most popular anime back in 2019, but it failed to gain new fans with season 2 for one simple reason. The problem was that the fans who were on the fence about the science lost interest because Dr. Stone refused to engage in the kind of action we're typically used to in anime. As a result, only people who really liked the characters and science of Dr. Stone stayed interested, and everyone else dropped the series. And even then, things only got worse in season 3 after they finally beat the series' first big bad, and were free to do whatever they wanted. Whereas scientific progress was previously handicapped by environmental factors, now the characters were producing industrial-level inventions with no real struggle. Because there wasn't any action until the end of the season, and because the characters could make inventions faster than ever, Dr. Stone lacked the kind of stakes that most anime fans expected from shows like Demon Slayer or Dandadan. But what's funny is even though Dr. Stone didn't have these kinds of stakes, it was still getting views. Season 2 was decently popular, and by the end, Season 3 was even more popular than Season 2, which may seem confusing for a show with seemingly no stakes, but people who stuck with Dr. Stone know exactly why it's continued to stay popular for over 6 years. It's because everyone watches the show for the characters. More than any action, and even more than the science, what keeps people watching Dr. Stone is its amazing cast of characters and their chemistry. Senku is easily one of the best main characters of all time, and his influence makes all of the other characters unforgettable. It's actually the perfect example of characters over plot because as great as the plot is, what fans love the most are the many emotional moments between the characters. So while action and stakes have always been Dr. Stone's biggest flaw, the characters have always been its biggest selling point. And that's why fans were able to push the series to their friends, and casual fans slowly picked up the series even when it failed to stand out. Naturally, the question you come across is how do you reconcile Dr. Stone's lack of stakes with its abundance of amazing characters? The answer is surprisingly simple, and that is to start killing off the characters. Okay, let me explain. So the problem Dr. Stone had was that there were all of these great characters, but they never died. Actually, they barely even fought. So the simple solution to the lack of stakes was to introduce uniquely threatening villains. And this is where Dr. Zeno and his American army comes in. Dr. Stone has always had terrifying villains, but it was never about action. These villains posed more of a psychological or strategic threat. But the second Senku and the other characters get to America in season 4, Dr. Zeno's right-hand man, Stanley, is like, "F them kids," and starts shooting them with a goddamn sniper rifle. By the end of the first cour, Senku and his friends find themselves in a global chase against Stanley while he tries to kill them all and take back Dr. Zeno to America. This then leads the characters to South America, where Senku's team has to set all kinds of traps, put together a legendary team of their best fighters to fight against a party of Navy SEALs and an MMA fighter, and use a global network to figure out how to stop Stanley before he kills everyone. South America is the most intense, most emotional, and most exciting arc in Dr. Stone, and it's because the story finally uses its characters to create the kind of stakes anime fans are looking for. And you can tell this is the case because it's the episode where the fighting actually starts, where Dr. Stone starts its 5-episode run of 9 out of 10 episodes. And this only happened because Dr. Stone was willing to risk its characters for the sake of the plot. At the same time, it even pushes the character writing even further, delivering some of the most vulnerable moments in the entire story. But as great as that is, that just leaves one problem. Where do you go from here? Because if you start killing off the characters that kept people invested, then wouldn't that ruin the story if it's still not over? You would think so, but it's actually after these sacrifices that Dr. Stone reaches its best run of episodes ever, and they all have to do with a character who has never done any fighting at all, Suika. At this point, although I've tried to keep spoilers to a minimum, I have to warn you there's going to be major spoilers going forward. If you want to watch Dr. Stone and come back, all I can say is Suika single-handedly saved Dr. Stone. Well, that's not technically true, since it's the chemistry she has with the other characters that makes her growth so great. Let me explain. Dr. Stone raises the stakes by introducing more action, but that's not the only way it creates tension. The other problem we mentioned was that the science was becoming too easy. Obviously, that's only natural when you have a boy genius that can do doctorate level math in his head. So, the solution to this problem was to slowly transition Senku out of the role as lead scientist. Instead, what we start to see in the very beginning of season 4 is Senku handing off his leadership to other characters. The first big example of this is when he's out of commission and tells Chrome to take his place as science leader. Essentially, this acts as a handicap because with Senku effectively out of the picture, now we have a less skilled character leading the scientific endeavors, meaning that the stakes are higher than before. This is taken to another level in South America, when Senku gives the other characters the task of forging diamonds. He walks them through it over the phone, but they basically have to do it by themselves without any scientists like Chrome to help them. And this is where Dr. Stone sets up the theme that drives Suika's growth in the later episodes. After trying and failing to make diamonds, these characters claim it must be impossible to do it without Senku. But one of the characters, Nikki, explains that if Senku says they can do it, then it must be possible. We then watch these characters manage to create diamonds from scratch through trial and error over a long period of time by following Senku's proven science. It's an example of how any character can do what Senku does with the same time and resources, which is exactly how the story sets up Suika's character arc in the end of the season. After the battle, everyone and everything is gone. Suika finds herself as the only surviving human on the planet. There's no action, there's no crazy inventions. In fact, Suika is basically back to square one, but the stakes have never been higher, especially now that she doesn't have Senku to help her. But in her moment of desperation and painful loneliness, Suika discovers that Senku wrote down how to make revival fluid, and their new friend Chelsea made a map pointing out every location of food and resources Suika could possibly need. Literally, all Suika has to do is use these instructions. The answers are being given to her, but she still has to do the work. It takes some figuring out, and Suika has to do some growing up before she can decide that she's gonna save the planet by herself. But with time and dedication, Suika accomplishes the only thing that separated Senku from everyone else. She single-handedly saves the human race using science. The beauty of this mini arc is that it leans into what makes Dr. Stone so great, while also geniusly solving its biggest problem. Its biggest problem was always a lack of fights and a lack of stakes due to the crazy science. But people loved Dr. Stone anyway because of characters like Suika and the many emotional moments we share with them. So, Dr. Stone fixes its own problem by killing off the characters in a season with more stakes than ever. And just before you can say Dr. Stone killed off the one thing people liked, it introduces an arc unlike any other that was slowly built up to throughout the season. It takes everything great about the story, the science, the character writing, the intensity. It combines all of these things and uses its weakest character to prove its biggest selling point. You don't need training arcs and crazy transformations to have an exciting story. You don't even need crazy science. The difference between Dr. Stone and every other anime is its unforgettable characters and the way they push each other to grow in incredible ways. Because of this, we watch characters like Suika experience their most vulnerable moments and their best victories all in the span of one arc. This is how Dr. Stone did the impossible and got 5 top-rated episodes back to back, and it's why, more than 6 years after its debut, Dr. Stone still has the best characters in all of anime and manga.